Alright guys, so I'm going to talk to you, sorry people, I'm going to be talking to a camera for a little bit here. I have a class here, but they're working on something else, so I figured I'd go through this with you guys real quick. It says use a texture triangle, with the use of a texture triangle, scientists have created classes which break the distribution of particle size, soil textures, into 12 categories. And these are the 12 categories that you're going to see, and you notice that they're very similar. They're kind of just combinations of each one of them. I'm not going to highlight all of them, but you'll see them inside of this texture triangle. And I realize, see if I can bring this down a little bit. It's not the best quality. Sorry if it's not the best, but you should be following along with me. So it says, if we go down here, it says the soil texture triangle is one of the tools that soil scientists use to visualize and understand the meaning of soil names. Obviously, okay. What you can do with this is you can try, based off the composition of the soil that you find, you can try to find what type of soil it is. And luckily, these are much better than the one I showed you guys online because they show you which way to read them. So here, percent of clay, you're going to, like if you want to find soils that have 80% clay, you just go directly across. Percent of silt is going down, so if you have something that is 20% silt, it's going to go down. And again, it's showing that direction with the way that these are written. Percent sand is going up and to the left. Again, you guys can see almost like an arrow which way these are going. Okay, so it's easier to find how they're sort of flowing into one another. For number one, it says determine the percentage sand of your sample and find the number on the bottom of the triangle. Note the numbers read from left to right, not left to right. For example, if your sample is 65% sand, then you need to pick a point to the left of the 60 mark. So here, your first line showing 65% sand. So here you see it. I've kind of given you the answer here, but you notice how it's going to the left. Normally, when we see 60, we're going to go to the right. And by the way, this is percent sand, so we're looking at the correct one. But we'd usually go to the right to find 65%, but that actually wouldn't work. It would go to 55. So here we're going to go to the left, and you guys can see the line drawn. So just fill in that line. You might need to do it a couple times. A ruler, honestly, would work better for this. I don't have one with me currently. So that's my sand line, right, at about 65%. Notice that it's going through several different things. It's going through sandy loam, sandy clay loam. Okay, so probably most everything's going to fall under that category. Our soil is going to be classified as either sandy loam or sandy clay loam, one of the two. Next, it says draw another line in correspondence, or line to correspond to the percent clay. Let's say you had 27% clay. So we're going to find where it's talking about clay. Obviously, it's this side right here. Okay, so we're going to look at this. And this one's going kind of in a more natural way. I found 20, so I need to get to 27. So it's going to be somewhere around here. And of course, I have it highlighted. So we're going to draw, this is our first line. Okay, our first line that we already have. Now I'm going to draw the clay, okay, and again it's dashed. So I'm just going to go in and just kind of fill in those dash marks. And already we have a cross, okay, right at the sandy clay loam section. So again, that's probably where it's going to be, but we still have one more. So if you flip over, well, I guess it doesn't have another one. Number 3, oh, here we go. It says where the line intersects should also indicate the percent silt on the graph above. You can see that it's about 8%. So we're actually going to find the percent silt. So we're going to look at this guy based off where it intersects. So if you look, here's 10%, and it goes directly down towards that, but it doesn't quite intersect there. It intersects at about 8%. And again, I do not have a ruler, but you would go down until you hit it. So again, right about there, which is about 8% silt, is where you'd have it. The reason that we don't have to have that line, we can figure it out just from the two that we have, is because the percent silt, I feel bad for the guys, I just realized that people at home were listening to me this whole time. The percent silt is going to be what remains from the 27% clay and the 65% sand. You can only have 100% of the soil. So you can actually subtract from 100, 65, and 27, and it'll tell you how much your percent silt is, which in this case was 8%. It says wherever your line intersects indicates the soil type you have. It's going to intersect right about there. which again is sandy clay loam. So that's the type of soil that we have. That's how this chart is utilized. Again, sandy clay loam is what we end up with. Now, on this portion, part 2, you're going to go through, and the first thing that I would recommend doing is filling in these blanks. Again, all you have to do is add them to make sure that they have 100%. So for this first one, let me get my calculator out. For this first one, it says, 2 of these are already filled in, but this guy, this first blank right here, says that we have 42% sand. Alright, so I'm going to take 100 minus 42 minus 37% clay. So 42% sand, 37% clay, and I'm going to end up with 21% silt because that's what's left over. Okay, so you can go through and you can do the rest of those in a very similar way, just subtracting the 2 from 100 to get the percent that is not shown. You're then going to use the texture diagram, or this. You can use the one down here. You can use the one on the back. These are a little bit bigger, but you're going to use these the soil texture triangle to figure out. So this first one's 75% sand. So I'm going to go again to the sand portion, and I'm going to find 75%. Now normally I would look at this 70, I think, oh, it's right here, but it's not. It's right around here. So I would take this and I would draw a line parallel to this diagonal of 70. I'd draw it right in the middle. And again, wish I had a ruler, because you can see that I didn't do very well there. It should be like right about here. Okay, I'm going to go get a ruler so I don't do that again. And do this with a pencil. That'd be my suggestion. So you can erase. So again, I'm looking at sand first. I'm going to go about 75%, right halfway through. And I'm going to make it parallel with this other line. Okay. I'm going to draw my line right there. Okay, and I actually drew it out a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. So that's my first one. My next one is 10% silt. So I'm going to go to the silt section over here. I'm going to find 10%. It's already got a line through it. So I'm going to draw that out. And by the way, you don't even have to draw a line if you don't want to. If you can just kind of do this on your own, it's probably going to be sandy loam, I can already tell you. Oh look, it is, because it's already given me that. But again, you don't have to draw all these lines, because then it's a lot of erasing. You can just kind of line it up. You can make a point, perhaps, where you think it would land, especially after you have the first 2, because the third one's pretty easy. It's 15% clay, so I'm going to go over to clay right here, and I'm going to find 15%, which is almost right at the intersect. All right, and again, we're right smack in the middle of sandy loam, so my texture name would, of course, be sandy loam. And then I'd put the properties, and if you're sitting there going, okay, well, what are the properties? Well, down here, I have, if you are sandy loam, you would write in the properties for sand and silt. So poor and medium, you have slightly poor nutrient holding capacity. Or I'm sorry, sand and loam, my bad, it's sandy loam. So you'd have poor to medium, so I would say it's slightly poor nutrient holding capacity, good to medium, or medium to good rather, water filtration. So, you know, the issue with this, you could either write both. It doesn't necessarily tell you what good and medium are, so it just gives you a vague understanding. If it's good to medium, or medium to good rather, I would say that it's decent water infiltration capacity. Okay, it's not bad. Yeah, not bad would probably be a good defining term. The properties are going to be somewhat vague, and that's fine. Poor to medium water holding capacity, so it doesn't hold water super well. It is fairly aerated, and it is fairly workable. So I would call good to medium fair. I would call poor to medium less than fair. I would call good to medium here, again, fair, poor to medium, less than fair. So with that, you can try to articulate those properties any way that you want, but this is what you're going to use to find your properties. This is the most vague sort of portion. The important part, give this a try, but the important part is that you're able to read this graph and find these values. That's what I care about more than anything else. All right, thank you guys for your attention. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Talk to you guys next time.